I've done a lot of solo queuing in my Siege career, unfortunately. Do I think solo queuing is a good idea? No, I do not. It is horrendous, especially during Rank 2.0. But within my time of solo queuing, I have learned a lot of things. The big thing being, every operator is played differently while solo queuing. That might not make a lot of sense, but given the fact that this is a team-based game, when you're by yourself, your playstyle is completely different, even if you don't realize it. So I decided to create this video. One tip for every attack operator. Now you're probably thinking, NFX, why not defense operators? Well, that's because that depends on how you guys feel about this one. If you guys like this video and want to see a part 2, 1,800 likes in the first 24 hours and I'll make it happen. I've hit champion many times while solo queuing, so I would like to think my opinion matters. I might be a wash player, but me being washed is still at least a champ player. So just in case you have no fucking friends and you solo queue all the time, this video might be perfect for you. So let's get right into it. Starting off with Striker. And this one's quite simple. Always use the EMP grenades as well as the hard breach device. When solo queuing, unfortunately, people tend not to play support. So you have to be self-reliant and pretty much get the wall on your own. Running this combination pretty much guarantees you at least one wall, hoping that the other team is not bandit tricking at least. But nonetheless, being able to guarantee one single wall while solo puts you at an advantage, because we all know what it feels like to play this game when nobody gets the fucking wall. It's horrible and you pretty much lose 9 times out of 10. So if you're gonna play Striker, who's actually arguably one of the better solo queue operators, always run this combination. So just in case nobody runs hard breach or your hard breach dies, at least you could still attempt to get the wall. Sledge. First of all, run the Master Chief outfit as it gives you a 20% boost in confidence. That's not a theory, that's fact. But honestly, Sledge is probably one of the most well-versatile operators on attack. It's kind of hard to come up with a solo queue oriented strat. So besides the basics and telling you to play vertical, you should target castles. A good castle strat could be the death of your team. If you target castles, not only do you open an opportunity for your team to push in and take ground, but it also takes away the defender's confidence in holding a room down, especially if you target the castles early. Plus, if you do so, you don't have to spectate your team if you die and watch them attempt to break a castle for 20 fucking seconds because they did not pay attention to the map and just die or lose off of time. A good example would be to run Sledge when somebody's playing Master Bedroom of Clubhouse. Usually a castle is played for highway windows. If you play Sledge and break those windows within the first 20 seconds, the defenders are going to be cooked. Siege is a mental game, so if you mess up their mental, it increases your odds of winning. It's that simple. Thatcher. Okay, the good thing about bringing Thatcher to your team is it has a high chance to have one of your teammates join you on support. But my genuine tip is to use Thatcher as the IGL operator. What I mean by this is you control where your support op is gonna go. That's if that person has a brain, because we all know solo queue players do not have fucking brains. Let's say you're playing Theme Park. The enemy's site is in Armory Throne Room, and you have a Thermite on your team. He will follow you to any of the walls you choose if you enter the building first. Remember, he can't get wall without you, therefore giving you the choice of what wall to get. Personally, I love getting yellow wall, but during solo queuing, it's a very hard wall to acquire as you have to clear way more of the map to do so. And we all know the only way to really clear confidently is with a stack or at least 3 other people. So my next option would probably be maintenance wall, as the only thing you really have to clear is top dragon and gong. I would not recommend barrels, as barrels is very, and I mean very fucking disruptive. You can get killed from vert. There's a hatch in the room, there's a staircase that's easy to access, and a defender can slip into drug room, shooting through your wall. Never go for barrels in solo queue. But yeah, that's pretty much my tip for Thatcher. Just become the IGL of your team, even if you don't have comms. The support player tends to follow the Thatcher. Next up is Ashe. Okay, I know Ashe is a gunner op of attack, and besides simply saying entry and frag out, I'm gonna say target high value defenses like mirror walls, deployable shields, maestro cameras, and Melusi traps. You're probably like, NFX, that's a no-brainer. And to be honest, yeah, it is. But I also see a lot of people not playing Ashe for her utility. Ashe isn't just a frag op. She does have a purpose that a lot of other operators cannot do, but that she could do better and easier. Think of it this way. Use your Ashe charge to break a mirror and a deployable, and boom, your team can't call you useless because you did something to help them out. And after that, you just go back to fragging out. Stop picking ops based off of their gun, pick an op for the ability. And if you pick Ashe, make sure you don't have any breaching rounds by the end of the round. And don't waste it on shit like castle barricades, unless you really need to, especially soft walls. Because again, Ashe also has breach charges. Using a fucking Ashe charge to break a barricade has got to be the most useless thing I've ever seen. You could literally mag dump a barricade and do the same thing without wasting a breaching round. I'm tired of this frag meta that only plays Ashe because of the R4C. It's stupid and brain dead, and it happens way too much in solo queue. Thermite. My solo queue tip for Thermite is quite simple. Get as much open as quickly as possible. I know, that seems basic, but let me explain why I say quickly. If you break a certain wall, you influence your team to make that push. For example, let's say you're playing Clubhouse. Enemy team is in CCTV. Instead of just going for the main wall, get the garage wall. That's if you want your team to push garage. Or you could open up con single. That's if you want your team to push con. This pretty much leads your team to what push you want. This also has the enemy team be on edge. More openings on defense creates a sense of unease. Then you get the main wall last to create more angles for your team. A simple tip, but again, support players are the IGLs with or without comms. Remember that. I'm tired of people just playing Thermite and for some reason just not breaking the wall. It makes no sense. Always trust your support player. Unless he has a plat charm. Don't trust him. Twitch. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. Target traps before targeting default cameras. Now, some of you may be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Be honest, if your team doesn't know to shoot default cameras, that's a genuine skill issue. If you target traps like Capkins, Fenrir, Elemines, Legion traps, it opens up a lot of windows for your randoms to make a play. Twitch does have an infinite amount of charges, but is very time costing on cooldown. So if you really deem it necessary to get a default camera, that's on you. I rather get the traps as quickly as possible to deny my team from getting smoked. It's as simple as that. A simple tip, but a very looked over tip. A Twitch player that only gets default cameras is a lame Twitch and a shitty Twitch. Honestly, a useless Twitch. Monty. When solo queue, you will notice your team plays like a bunch of vaginas. Very common, unfortunately. You can't afford to play a passive Monty. You need to clear corners and push and let your team know it's clear. And I cannot stress this enough, yellow ping. But only yellow ping when you see an enemy or some sus shit happening. By sus, I mean a rotate or head holes or even punch holes. You are pretty much a walking drone and your team hopefully can read your body movement. That's the role of Monty in 5 stacking, and the same thing applies to solo queuing, but you just have to be more aggressive. Because again, your team is a bunch of walking tampons. Glaz. Okay, no lie, if you're playing Glaz at all, let alone solo queue, I think you're actually throwing. My genuine tip for Glaz while solo is just not to play Glaz. The only thing I can think of is use Glaz for rush plants, where you smoke your planter, but then again, you are solo queue and you can't know if your team is gonna even do that. So I say again, just don't play this bum ass operator. Glaz is so out of meta that he's just not useful, especially solo queue. Like, again, you're really throwing. You could have went any operator and you went Glaz. Just don't pick fucking Glaz. That's my biggest solo queue tip. But for those nerds who are possibly typing in the comments right now, well, actually, you didn't give a tip for Glaz. You're a fucking bot, to be honest. Like this, we all know Glaz is a horrible operator for solo queue. Honestly, in general, but way more solo queue, just no reason. Fuse. First of all, Fuse has got to be the most underrated solo queue operator out there. He has a hard breach gadget and the cluster charge, which is the ability to destroy utility safely. As for a tip for solo queuing with Fuse, I really couldn't think of anything that wasn't essentially default by nature. I would say prioritize hatches and don't waste Fuse charges on windows. I say that because the spread on windows really isn't that significant, and honestly, you put yourself at a greater risk. Make it hell for the people below you, especially for maps like Clubhouse where you could break kitchen and bar hatch, and clear armory and armory hall of all gadgets and defenders in that area in just the click of a cluster. I wish I had a better tip, but Fuse is pretty simple and self-explanatory. Just use his cluster charges. As long as you use your whole gadget and utility, you're honestly fine. There really is no specific tip for him. I would just say he's very underrated. Blitz. Very similar to Monty. Be aggressive. A passive Blitz is a dead Blitz. You can at times be a passive Monty, but Blitz, I swear to God, does not have this luxury. Your goal is to catch people off guard and not allow them to think. As fucked up as it sounds, you need to create chaos. If you see a cav or a vigil, chase that motherfucker down and keep yellow pinging so your team knows where they are or where they are going. The person you are targeting would have to be a dumbass not to run away. They run away, two things happen. Either you or your teammates kill them, giving your team an advantage in numbers, or they get away and give your team an advantage by having map control. Essentially, it's a win-win if you're aggressive. That doesn't mean run directly into sight, but take parts of the map. That's how you play Blitz and solo queue. IQ, ping everything you see. Remember, you have no comms with your teammates. This is very important, especially if you don't have every enemy operator detected. I can't stress this part enough. The amount of times I have pinged a Capcan trap and saved my entire team is weirdly high. I don't know why I see a lot of IQ players that just don't ping, but this game is very intel based. No comms can be talked upon while solo queue. So even just detecting an enemy can be the difference between life or death for your teammate and yourself. This shit saves lives. And not only does this help you, it helps the team. Buck. This is the most versatile solo queue op. You could break soft walls, hatches, reinforced walls, play vertical, use your shotgun for close fights, and use a DMR or a C8 for long fights. The only real question is, what the fuck can you not do with Buck? The only thing I could think of for Buck for solo queue is to always bring a hard breach gadget over the stun grenades. Even if you have a thermite or an ace, bring hard breach gadget, because we all know in solo queue, the breachers always, and I mean always, fucking die. This way, you could be self-reliant. Go below or go above to get a mute or a bandit charge off the wall, and then go place it. That's my tip. Just bring the hard breach gadget. Even if you get wall, you have opportunities to break hatches with your hard breach. You just want that option, essentially. Blackbeard. Play with and only around your team. Blackbeard's solo isn't bad, but when you pair yourself with at least one guy on your team, you become a force that nobody wants to fuck with. I would recommend following a Dokkaebi or a Jackal around. People really don't want to force a fight with Blackbeard, but if you have a teammate with you, your chances of killing somebody are even higher. Because most people are going to shoot the guy without the shield, giving you time to set up and shoot back. Unfortunately, the only downside of this is you might bait the fuck out of your teammate. But hey, you're solo, so sacrifice was genuinely worth it. Honestly, this is not my best tip at all. To be fair, Blackbeard's rework did just come out. If it was old Blackbeard, I would have said something completely different, but I'm still trying to work this one around. But to be honest, I really just be baiting my team out here. I cannot lie. Capitao. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, Capitao is so out of meta now. He's just a shitty version of a smoker and a shitty Grim. But that doesn't make him completely useless. I use Capitao as a quick flank watch when solo queue. And honestly, it's kind of solid. Let's say I'm playing Cafe, attacking upstairs, and I'm in Cigar Shop, and I'm in a 1v2. I know there's one coming up red, but don't really know where the other guy is. But I do know he's in sight. What I do is simple. Turn around and I shoot a firebolt on red stairs, which gives me time to force a 1v1 on the guy on site, increasing my odds of winning. That's really all you could do while solo. It's just help force a 1v1. Otherwise, it's really not that good and way too situational, so I wouldn't even play this operator to begin with. Again, no hate to Capitao. I just think he's in some dire need of a buff or a rework. And I think we can all agree with this. This is definitely not my first option to solo queue. I don't think I honestly really play him in solo queue anymore, unless my chat redeems to play him. There is no purpose in Capitao. Habana. My biggest tip for Habana is to make sure by the time the round ends, you have no more pellets. I see a lot of people break one, maybe two hatches, but still have pellets in their pocket. Even if you don't really need it, you can use those extra pellets for sound cues, to break a castle, to break Mira, or hell, just make a small hole in a wall so defenders can't play in certain spots safely. Just use all your pellets. That's really it. That's really only the tip I can come up for Habana while solo queuing. Just use your fucking Kairos. Jackal. I pretty much play Jackal like a bloodhound. I always start from the top floor and work my way down if the enemy site is in basement, or I work my way up if the enemy site's on top floor. This is a selfish role when solo queue, but also needed to secure a win. You need to clear all roamers for your team and make sure they don't have to deal with getting flanked. You play Jackal to play with your team, you're playing him wrong, at least for solo. Obviously, it's a very risky thing to play by yourself, but honestly, you're already by yourself. Why not possibly make the play, pick one, maybe luckily two, and give your teammates a numbers advantage? The good thing is, when somebody gets pinged by Jackal, your entire team sees the ping. So either that person's going to run back to site, or your teammates are going to capitalize on the kill. Just don't play like a bitch when playing Jackal. Ying. Map control, map control, map control. Now, I could just tell you to throw your Yings into sight and push like normal people do with Ying, or You can use it to take high value spots. What I like to do is play Ying on border. What I'll do is if the enemy team is in armory, I'll push east, slide a Ying Candela into Archive's door, and throw one into office, letting the defenders guess where I'm pushing. But take office and possibly fountain, which is a power position. I don't even need to take fountain. As long as I'm in office, my team can get wall and open up site and push archive for a plant. As long as I'm at where I'm at, I can cut off rotates and hold a power spot. You don't need to play Ying like an idiot. Of course you can, but I think playing her this way is the best way and the easiest way to get wins. Highly recommended. Zofia, quick clearing. This is what I like to call quick clearing. I don't like Zofia that much, but just in case my chat redeems and I have to play her, I don't really mind it. I like to use her concussion grenades to quick clear. If you didn't know somehow, if you shoot a concussion into a room and it blows up immediately, that means that someone is in that area. If it doesn't, then it's clear. Hence the term quick clearing. If you're uncertain, pop a concussion. Better than swinging and dying, especially when you have no comms with your team. You are self-reliant, and this is a self-reliant way to clear rooms, or corners, or honestly whatever. Especially now because no one really brings Wamai or Jaeger. This is a really good way to capitalize on Zofia while solo. Dokkaebi, one of the best ops to main while solo. The lazy roam clear. Literally no one can hide from a call if they're off-site. What I like to do is use my drone to clear one part of the map, then once I clear it, I then use my call to then push anyone that might be in the other. Again, here's another example, but I feel like it's best to explain than not. Let's say you're playing Villa pushing Master Closet. You use your drone to clear Closet, Master, Bathroom, Astro and its stairs, as well as Click Glance Statue. What I'll then do is move myself into the bathroom, then proceed to give a call. Doing so, I can hear if anybody snuck up or is on Astro stairs or somebody's in trophy, giving you more time to easily take over the map. You can honestly clear one side of the map just as Dokkaebi alone. Cool thing about Villa is if you call in bathroom, you can hear the first floor because of the skylight, so you'll know if someone's below you or not. Good thing is, if you don't hear anybody, you don't even really have to worry about flank watch for a good few seconds. Just like that, pretty much cleared this side of the map for your team, just by the click of one button and the use of your drone to safely get you into that position. Honestly, an S tier solo queue operator. Lion. Honestly, Lion is such a team-oriented operator, so the only thing I'm going to say is don't be one of those people that pop your scan just to pop it. Preserve it for the end of the round situation where you force the enemy to move and get pinged, or stay complacent and get more map control. I honestly don't think Lion should be a solo queue option, but that's just me. So that's the only tip I could genuinely construct in my head, as again, this is more of a team-oriented operator and not really recommended for the solo queue streets. I think a lot of people will agree with this. If not, let me know down below in the comments what you do with Lion while solo queuing. Finka, for the love of God, heal your teammates. As soon as I see my teammates lose or start to lose health, I pop my boost. Of course, I use it for myself, but I'd rather make sure the squad is all good because we are all in this shit together. I'm tired of seeing my teammates play Finka and not heal me, or anybody at this point. I'm really not a Finka player, but I do pay attention to my teammates' health. I even do this when I play Doc. But don't play a selfish Finka. You pick the healer for a reason, and your only real purpose is to heal everybody once they take damage. Stop being a selfish dickhead. You do not need all 60 HP to yourself. Maverick. Holes, holes, holes. Create as many holes as you possibly can. Even if your team doesn't play the holes, just by making them, you create a sense of unease for the enemy team. Everybody knows what it's like to play against a Mav who just fucks up every wall. Imagine defending downstairs wine cellar on Chalet, and you have Mav holes in garage wall as well as trench wall. It chalks the mental of me every single time, possibly opening up an opportunity for the attacking team to capitalize on that mental chalk. Sometimes stupid shit works. Good thing is, even if you die, your team is still gonna use your holes to get picks. So don't feel bad after dying, because you probably are going to help in the afterlife anyway. Nomad. I'm not going to lie, I play Nomad selfishly when I solo. I determine where I want to push and shoot my air jabs on routes that can keep me safe for my push. Now obviously you can help your team and do default stuff, or you can make an opportunity for yourself by putting you into a position that makes plays and gets a W. It's okay to play Nomad for yourself. Your team didn't pick Nomad, you did. This is just a tip, because the amount of times I pick Nomad for certain runouts or to cancel a certain defense push, my teammates don't even push that side, so I've kind of learned to play Nomad that helps me in my situation, because again, you are solo. Gridlock. Now, I could say the obvious and say throw your tracks on the stairs, but what I like to use them for is plant situations. What I do is always pocket 2 tracks, take diffuser, and go for an audio covered plant. A lot of the time your team is, unfortunately, for some fucking reason, too scared to plant, which means they aren't going to cover you. So before you plant, throw 1, maybe 2 tracks, and while they're going off, it masks the audio of you planting so you can get it down. By the time the plant is down, you honestly might probably die, but your team will be forced to play the diffuser, and you pretty much would have helped them set up for a free W, unless they're just straight up shit. Fortunately, some people are just shit and somehow manage to lose these situations, but you know what? At that point, that's not on you. You did your job. Knock. Not gonna lie, I don't ever, honestly play knock in general, but if I do, I feel like this really isn't a solo queue tip. I just think it's a normal tip. I always enter from the opposite side of the map of where sight might be, and quietly. Doing so, you might be able to catch a pick early and give your team a numbers advantage. Other than that, knock really isn't all that. Not saying she's not a solo queue operator, just I guess not my kind of operator, and she's not as good as she used to be. Amaru. Now, Amaru is a little rough while solo. Usually you have someone sit on a cam and let you know if you could fly through a window, but the lack of comms makes this a little harder, but not impossible. I'm gonna give an example. Let's say you're attacking consulate upstairs. What you do is get your drone in admin office as quick as possible for a pre-place. What you do is get in a spot ready to go into the window, hop on your drone, take a few seconds to clear, and if clear, Amaru on in. Doing so, you get a major part of the map for your team just by taking a few seconds to wait. And just like that, you have a third of the top floor on your side in just 20 seconds. This could be done on other maps as well, like Big Tower of Oregon or Master Bedroom of Coastline. Just take your time. Again, siege might not be on your side. Siege timing does exist. Maybe you got off your drone as you cleared, but somebody walked in right as you were rappelling in. That's just some siege shit, to be honest. And that's why I'll also say Amaru really isn't a solo queue operator. So if you really want to go high risk, high reward, it is worth it if you play it correctly. Callie. Yeah, Callie really isn't a solo queue operator as well. Her gun sucks, and her ability is questionable. Not useless, but situational. I would say avoid Callie at all costs, personally. This is a bait op for solo. Yes, you can help get the wall, but she's the easiest to bandit trick, and you can easily mute trick her. That's how shit Callie is. Her only purpose is to get Miras, and even then, I would just rather bring an Ashe. My biggest tip, unfortunately, just don't play this operator. She's just not it. Yana. First of all, stop looking up 2B skirt, you fucking perv, and start clearing for your teammates. A lot of the times, your team is going to be afraid to push in the building. But if you put a Yana clone in front of them, they are likely to follow and clear with you. Pretty much lead your team where you want them to go as long as you have a clone, which in theory, if played correctly, will give you better map control. Very basic tip, but this is the way to help the squad out. Drone them in. Everyone is more likely to follow a Yana clone than a regular drone, and that's just facts. Ace. For the love of God, please start making walkable holes. I can't stress this enough, the amount of ace players that make walls vaultable fucking annoying as hell. If it's vaultable, you have to take your eyes off of whatever you were aiming at previously to even vault it to begin with, leaving yourself at a disadvantage in a gunfight, as well as give the enemy team a sound cue. If you make it walkable, you take these two negatives away, increasing gunfights and win percentage. My biggest tip is just help your team by making it vaultable or even crouchable. As long as they don't have to vault an ace charge, you take away 2 cons that easily. 0. Place your cameras everywhere. Stupid tip, but people fail to realize that even if you or your teammates are dead, your cameras are still gonna be up and helpful. I personally love to run 0 on bank, especially if they go upstairs. I'll go to the roof and shoot through 4 skylights early on. Doing so, I get the cam safely and they pretty much last the entire round. Top square cam watches top square stairs. White stairs skylight covers the mid rotate. The main lobby skylight doesn't just cover spiral stairs, it covers ATMs, so you could safely rappel on sight window and not worry about somebody killing you from the main lobby. Just use your cameras essentially, because even if your teammate's dead, as long as that person isn't a fucking idiot and just simply sitting on a camera for yellow ping, it pretty much helps you and you can help your team. It's just up to that person to do that task, which unfortunately is a toss-up in itself, but you know what, in theory it should work. Flores, drone baiting. I I feel like a lot of people forget that you can have a drone go on without you controlling it. If you allow a Flores drone to go ahead of you, it helps give you free intel because 95% of the time, if a defender sees it, he's gonna shoot the drone and not think someone is following it, revealing his or her position and setting you up for a free kill. An underrated strat, but I use this a lot while solo queuing. Drone baiting is a thing, especially on Flores, and for some reason, it works very well. So start Flores drone baiting if you have it. Osa, Windows and punch meta. I don't know why, but people don't use this enough. But placing an Osa shield and breaking it is so comp, especially on certain maps, and especially when solo queuing. For example, let's say you're playing Highway of Clubhouse. Place one Osa shield on CCTV window and punch it, and then do the same for con window. This gives you solid coverage to peek the Masters and Gym window without having to worry about someone swinging CCTV or jumping out of con. Obviously, somebody can impact the shield, it's not immortal, but even then, it gives you a better time to react than just dying immediately. This way, you don't have to worry about your team having map control. Very self-reliant strat. Sense. My god, is sense shit. The only way to make sense somewhat useful is to run a team-oriented strat. The only thing that somewhat makes sense useful for solo queuing is to counter Mira. Being able to blind a black mirror can position your team to make a play and lock down a round win, but honestly it's very rare this would happen, as sense again is pretty fucking terrible. How I use sense, sorry. If I use sense, it's strictly to break a mirror, but even then, sense is shit given that there are so many other counters like Ashe, Twitch, or even Kali. So my real advice is don't even pick this dookie shit operator. Grim was once the most useless operator for the longest time, but has turned into my favorite solo queue attacker. With this, you don't need teammates. It's as simple as if you're uncertain about a corner, just shoot a beehive and clear it or get a free pick. Another way to essentially lazy drone, as no one is safe from a Grim unless they're standing on a mute jammer, which isn't always the case. It's actually very rare that happens, especially if it's off-site. By the end of the round, in theory, you should have no Grim beehives left, and it's just self-reliable. You don't need to drone or take time to clear a room or a corner. Just shoot one of these hive launchers. God, I love this operator. Top 5 solo queue operators for attack. Definitely Grim should be on the top 5 talk. Brava. Now, I could say hack traps, but to be honest, when solo, I like to hack every type of camera. Main reason is this. Even if you or your teammates are dead, you could still be useful. Kind of like what I said with Zero. Being able to give and or receive intel from beyond the grave is hella useful, and could be the thin line to securing a W. So again, focus on common default cameras that cut off rotations, as well as BPs or Valks. It's that simple. If you play Twitch, you go for traps. If you play Brava, you go for intel. That's at least how I play these operators while solo. Ram drones have got to be the loudest fucking thing in this game. Anybody and everybody can hear these things from a mile away. I use these drones to mask my push. For example, if I'm playing Villa and the enemy team is in AV bar site, the thing I like to do is come up 90. Throw a ram drone down bookshelf hall and push the AV door. By the sound alone, they will be way too distracted and focused on the boogie and possibly create an opening for you to take 1, maybe 2 picks. Siege is a game that's based on sound. If you take it away from people, they run around like headless chickens. So you don't always have to use the boogie just to play vertical. There are other options, and Sound Q is one of my favorites. Deimos. I'm not gonna lie, a lot of people are probably not gonna think about this one, but for Deimos, I use him for a very specific reason. This one's definitely kind of different. I personally love to play Deimos vertically and target bandits. My goal as a Deimos is to obviously catch roamers, but most of the time, once a roamer gets caught, he runs back to site. So the next best thing is bandit. If your team hasn't gotten the wall by the time you have pretty much cleared the roamers, target bandit to prevent bandit tricking and shoot the bandit charges off vertically. The bandit's not going to contest you vertically. He's going to run away from wall, especially if it's soft, preventing him from bandit tricking. This way you get your team wall and create an opening to increase your chances of winning. It's as simple as that. And honestly, it happens a lot of the time, because I swear to God, 95% of the time, people that are roaming, if I catch them, they're just going to run back to site and allow me to bully the bandit in sight as well. And that's pretty much been one tip for every attack operator. Quite long, quite a yap sesh, but honestly, I tried my best. Solo queuing is a different breed in itself. You could choose to be a very good team player, or you could choose to be a very selfish player. I guess that really comes down to you. But from my experience, this is what helps me secure Ws when playing these specific operators. You don't have to listen to me. This is just one tip for every attacker. 1,800 likes in the first 24 hours and I post a defense version. But it's been a long video already, so I already hear the outro music coming in, so let's lock it down.
I'm about to say all the wire, you know I love a tiger. She got the buns I admire. I'm at the butt, I bet you call. I'm about to say all the wire, you know I love a tiger. I can go to her ass like a tiger. She like Puppy on fire. She like Puppy on fire.
We gon' not do an LPOA. You got a gun, nigga. Me too. Buddy go what? Buddy go. That buddy go. Blush. Look. Buddy go. Digging that loogie back. Nigga digging that back. That's it. Buddy go back. That's got him. Buddy go. I've been low.